My friend and I had decided one summer night to go to this place called the Slaughterhouse one evening. Where I grew up there was a lot of urban legends about this place and the road it was on, Empire Mine Road. This road was located in the Bay Area of California, and the road was shut down after many accidents had happened and it was deemed unsafe, although it was still open as a walkable trail. Well, we had decided to go alone. I know two youngish girls at night at an abandoned place, not the smartest. In the past, we had gone in a group of 4 or 5 people and always found other explorers there, so we didn't think much of it and we felt pretty safe. I had brought a film camera with me, hoping to capture something possibly otherworldly on the film to serve as evidence. I also brought my pocket knife just in case there was a need and for peace of mind, because homeless sometimes hung out and there were always rumors of satanic rituals, although I knew the ritual rumor was most likely BS. We started the 20-minute walk to the slaughterhouse itself, and this felt really different. About a minute or two into the walk, I felt heavy with dread and fear, but I didn't want to say anything and creep out my friend or seem like I was chickening out. We made it up the final turn to a straightaway where it sounded like we were next to a freeway, but at this point we were at least a mile off from the nearest road. The loud sounds of cars and car doors closing was supposedly the remains of all the accidents that happened along that road, but I wasn't so sure. I just figured sounds were carried with the wind from the faraway freeways or roads. We made it down the final stretch and we hopped the fence and we were on the property. The place was very different from the last time. It looked as if it had burned and the buildings were blocked off by rubble, so there really wasn't much to do. I walked to the buildings I had photographed at a previous visit for comparison and began joking to my friend as I started feeling a bit more comfortable. I don't remember what I was doing exactly, but I turned my back on the building. My friend stared at me and dead seriously was like, "Come here now," and I walked over like, "What's the matter?" Apparently, she had seen a dark figure with red eyes behind me. I didn't personally see it, so I don't know if that was to scare me or not, but as I stepped towards her, I saw a dark truck traveling the road we had just walked on. This was really weird because the road was gated off and we parked in front of the gate, which meant no one could come through without moving our car. Our car had not been moved, so it would be nearly impossible for a car to get through. I can't stress this enough, but it would have been nearly impossible for a car to get through past our car and the locked gate. The truck was dark and barely visible with no lights on, and it didn't make any sound like road or engine noise. This dark truck pulled up to the gate we had hopped, and we heard yelling to get off our property. We couldn't see anyone in the truck, and it was barely lit up. As soon as it was there, it was gone, and with no sound. Neither of us saw a gun, but we both swore he had one. I was like, "Let's get out before whoever or whatever comes back." I nearly ran the mile back, and I'm not someone to run. Once we hit the final stretch, I could see what looked like police lights. We told each other to remain calm and we'd be fine. Once we got there, the police greeted us politely, and we returned the politeness, hoping to score points. They had said that they received a jumbled up call that was very odd, but what they caught was there were people on the road. They seemed to be confused by the call as we were. My friend had said we were just walking the road to see the place at night and never actually hopped the fence, and thank God they believed it. After a few insulting remarks of us being two females on a road at night, we were on our way. We stopped at a well-lit gas station to catch our breath and agreed never again. I no longer live near this area, but after that, I swore I'd never go back, certainly not at night. I still think about this night, and it perplexes me regarding everything that happened. I told myself that it was just the owner, but it just doesn't make sense How they could have gotten through our car and that gate, and the confusion the police had as well. In addition to that, many of the photos I took turned up as pitch black, even though I had flashlights and the phone flash was on. I had a few developed and looked normal, but I chalked it off to be bad film. But the same thing happened with the pictures I took on my phone as well. Overall, this experience has puzzled me. Firstly, I should put a disclaimer that this story is coming to me second-hand, so I can't verify myself how true it is. However, both my parents remember this vividly and have recounted the experience to me more times than I can count. It's one of those moments they could never forget. The first and only time I met my great-grandfather was as a newborn baby at a funeral for another relative on my dad's side of the family. Like most of my dad's relatives, he lived in West Virginia. My parents lived in Michigan, so he wasn't a person we could visit often. Despite me being only a few months old, they decided to make the trip down, and my great-grandfather was really glad that they did. My parents had me and then my sister later in life than most of the rest of my family, so a lot of people weren't even sure if they would have kids. When I came along, it was a really exciting time for everyone, even the relatives in West Virginia. Fast forward to a little over 2 years later, I was now 3, and my great-grandfather is really sick. Even though he normally loved seeing his grandkids, my great-grandfather was adamant that my parents shouldn't come and visit with me or my new baby sister. He didn't want us to see him in such a state. He passed away without ever getting the chance to see me again. Of course, there was a funeral for him, so my parents once again drove down to West Virginia with both me and my sister in tow. This is where the supernatural stuff begins. During the time that we were at the hotel before the funeral, I started jumping on the bed and saying the phrase, "I want to go swimming in Pop's pool," over and over again. My mom was really confused by this, but my dad was shocked. Pops was what the West Virginian family members called my great-grandfather. My parents never called him this. My dad just called him Grandpa growing up, and I'd never interacted with any of the family who called him this before, nor had he referred to himself this way when I was a newborn. This was strange, but it wasn't the only thing I was saying that made my dad think something weird was going on. When he was a kid, his grandfather always used to call his parents and say the grandkids should come over and swim in the pool. It was something he had never said on the phone with my parents because he was sick and didn't want us to see him. In fact, my dad had never even mentioned that he had a pool before, which is why my mom was so confused. She didn't even know what I was talking about. After attending the funeral and heading back home, a few days pass before anything else happens. My mom is in the kitchen folding towels, and she can see me in the living room playing with one of my toys. All of a sudden, I stand up and face towards the doorway into the kitchen and say, "Hi Pops, do you want to play with me?" I didn't say anything else for a bit, but I'm making an impression like I'm listening to someone. Then, my expression gets sadder and I say, "No, I don't want you to go." There's another pause where it looks like I'm listening to someone talk before I finally say, "Okay, bye-bye," and wave my hand in the air like I'm waving to someone. After that, I go back to whatever I was playing before and don't say another word. My mom stood silently and watched this whole exchange. She recognized the nickname I had said and knew that my great-grandfather must have come to see me because he was only able to meet me once during his life. After this, my parents never witnessed any supernatural experiences again. Even if I don't remember it, I'm really glad I got to say goodbye to him. I live in this sort of duplex with my mom. We live in the front of the house while our neighbors, a family, live in the back part of the house. My bedroom was one that was on the front of the house, facing the front gate. One night, around August 2019, I was watching YouTube in my room around 1 a.m. and had all the lights on inside and outside of the house. Since it was nighttime and I keep most of the lights on until I go to bed, then I heard knocking at the front door. Not frantic knocking, just a couple knocks. I went to find the remote and the controller for my Xbox and heard someone outside saying, "Hello? Hello? How are you? Hello? How are you? Hello?" It was a woman's voice, but I couldn't determine how old or young this person was. I found the remote and ended up just turning off the TV and turning off the bedroom light so I can peek at the front door without anyone seeing my silhouette in the window. I looked out and saw no one there. I thought, okay, maybe they're gone now. Closed the curtains again and turned the bedroom light back on. Then I heard more knocking. At this point, I was creeped out and waited to see if they would continue. However, after a couple minutes, this prompted me to turn off the lights again and look again. Same as before, no one was there. We have a metal gate that you can hear open and close whenever someone leaves or enters, and I never heard it open or close. And yes, I have thought maybe the family ordered food and maybe it was a delivery, but no one did that night, and I checked the window in the living room a while after to see if anything was dropped off. Nothing was there. Couple weeks passed by and nothing out of the norm happened until one night the knocking came back. This time the lights were off outside and in the living room. I was in the living room watching TV and heard someone knocking a couple feet away from me at the front door. At this point, I didn't know what to do since I was scared, and I guess I didn't want to frighten whoever was outside by blinding them with the light, just in case someone ordered food on the other side of the house. Because there was no light on outside, it was impossible to see who was out there. This time, I heard a man's voice. I couldn't make out what he was saying, but it seemed as if he was talking to someone. Time passed, and I ended up turning on the light outside, seeing no one there. Around October 2019, my two cousins moved in since their lease was up, so they took my mom's room. I let my mom take my room, and I've opted to sleep in the living room on the couch next to the front door. Maybe a week after getting settled in on the couch, one night, it happened again. The lights off and I was getting cozy and trying to fall asleep. I heard the knocking just a couple feet away from my feet. At this point, I had a hammer next to the couch, just for this instance. This time I didn't hear anything else. Knock, knock, knock. Again they knocked and I got spooked. The hallway light was on and can be seen from outside if I tried to peek out. So I kept calling my mom's phone so she can turn the hallway light off without anyone seeing her. She woke up and turned the light off. Then I was able to peek out the window and see if I saw anyone. No one. To add, whoever knocks, they never tried opening the door or anything. I thought this was weird, in case they were trying to break in or something, but nothing more than knocking. It's also always in the middle of the night, from 1 a.m. to as early as 5 a.m. Nothing happened for a while, and I ended up moving in with my boyfriend. Jump to 2020, my boyfriend went to visit family out of the state, and I ended up going back to my mom's for the meantime. Sometime around July 2020, when I was visiting my mom, someone knocked at the door while all the lights were off, except for the hallway light. At this time, I knew the drill and asked my mom to turn off the hallway light so I can look. I waited for her to pick up and she got up. She did and I peeked out. As I went to peek out the window, I heard the gate and saw it closing, but didn't see anyone on the street or walking away. Also didn't see anyone inside the gate. I'm currently staying at my mom's on the couch until my boyfriend and I can get a permanent place out of the state since COVID made a dent in our plans. Since then, it's happened a couple more times, never seeing anyone outside. Now I have Christmas lights at the front door that stay on all night till morning, just in case someone tries to come again. My mom and I spoke to the family who lives in the house, and they stated if they were to order food, they tell the person not to knock because a baby is inside, just because they don't want anyone disturbing us. They then mentioned they always just make food at the house and rarely order food unless it's during the day, never at night, especially late at night. We don't have any motion sensor lights or cameras in the front of the house, but I really want to get some in case, or when the knocking happens again. I wanted to post this just in case anyone has any insight. If this has happened to you or someone you know, I'm open to the idea, thinking it's something paranormal since I never see anyone outside, but I don't know. I hope someone can give me another point of view. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you in advance.